The beat on the beat.
To the last careers event of 2017-2018 ACS. The rest of speakers talked about different aspects of being black in business. So introducing Jasmin, and take it away.
I'm an Aston graduate. I graduated from Politics with International Relations, and for those that heard it a bit earlier, I did do a different degree beforehand. I did International Business and Management with German and French first. I did a bit of a cheat in there though, because I am German, so it was a bit easier. It was still hard, but much easier compared to someone that's just learning German. But yeah, so today I kind of wanted to talk to you about my journey, the journey that I kind of went through here at university and kind of pre-university and post-university, what I'm kind of doing now. But before I start, I want to take you guys from the journey from here, from university, to kind of how I got to the United Nations 3 weeks ago. And I was actually there speaking about youth development and youth participation in politics, to how I also got to start my own organization and as to why I started my own organization. So this is little me, everyone say, oh. I moved here almost 11 years ago. Growing up in Germany was a bit challenging. White girls and white boys, always thinking that, okay, do you know what, I'm actually the same as them. Until I was 6, and then I actually looked in the mirror properly with my friend standing next to me, and I was like, oh, we actually do look a bit different. And that's when I started realizing that there's something different about me. But anyway, I'm moving on. I went to primary school in Germany. I've always been that little nerd that's always sitting in front of the class, hence why I asked you all guys to move forward. We're sitting at the front of the class and always doing the work, like a good girl should. I moved here to London to live with my big sister because my parents thought it would be a better idea for me to be in England to get an English education. So I want to kind of talk to you through what actually happened. Before my GCSEs, imagine you're getting out of bed and then going to the bathroom to brush your teeth. Actually, no, go and use the toilet first. Then you go and brush your teeth. And then you're brushing your teeth and then you collapse. You literally just collapse. That's literally what happened to me. So I was crawling on my elbows to my sister's room and to tell her that I can't actually get up. She thought I was joking. She was like, nah, that's my Ghanaian name. Oh yeah, no time, sorry. That means, Jasmin, hurry up, get up. I couldn't get up. I was paralyzed. She called the ambulance came, tried to carry me into the wheelchair, broke together again, and then they rushed me to hospital. They were checking me from the head to the toe, but they couldn't find anything. And then imagine you not being in your body, you not being able to do what you actually want to do, going to school, and then them coming back to you to tell you, oh, sorry my darling, there's actually nothing wrong with you. So unfortunately, you have to go back now. We can't keep you here in hospital. But these times, I'm paralyzed. I can't move. I couldn't brush my teeth anymore by myself. I couldn't walk by myself. I was literally in bed from October 2009 till March 2010. So I managed to finally get better now through a lot of just resting, seeing the doctors, different type of medications and stuff. And then all of a sudden, you know when you go back to school and everything has changed because people are preparing for GCSEs. And you have that one amazing teacher that goes to you, sorry my darling, but I just wanted to let you know, you're not going to pass your GCSEs. Sorry? Why am I not going to pass my GCSEs? He said, oh, because you've missed so much, so that means you're not going to go to college and you're not going to make it to university. Ha ha! How is a teacher allowed him to speak into my life? How am I going to allow my teacher to speak into my life? I'm not going to allow that. that, you know what, regardless of what background you're from, regardless of what your teacher has said about you, you are going to be able to make it. So I set up my own organisation called Rising Nation. Rising Nation is an organisation that goes into schools and into colleges and into universities like these to teach and educate students and families and friends and the people themselves how to have inner confidence within yourself. Because when it comes to such things as dyslexia, what the issue is sometimes is that you don't feel confident enough to read out loud. Because when you read, I used to skip like this, like literally a skip and roll. That's what I used to do. But I never thought that was an issue. I just thought, you know, whatever. But I'm trying to go into schools to let teachers know how to work with these children. Give them that confidence boost. Give them praisals. Let them have that time. If they take longer to read, there's no issue. I was ill, I've recovered and got 14 A stars, A to C. Got 490 UCAS points, got into all of my universities straight away with unconditional offers. And you know when you get that UCAS confirmation and you're just like, haha teacher, guess what? I'm going to uni. I was the first one in my family to go to university with 2 scholarships and 490 UCAS points. So what I'm going to do is, university for some people is 4 years. For some people, university is 4 years. One thing I really enjoyed at all time was peer mentoring, helping people, impacting people, and making people better people. That was a lot of people in one sentence, wasn't it? But you get it, right? Yeah. Cool. So I joined peer mentoring when I was at university. I created a pageant called Mr. and Miss ACS UK, and we've been running that pageant for the last, 5 years now. And we've taken a break last year, but we're coming back bigger and better this year. So anyone that's running for ACS next year and you need a little project that you want to run, I got one for you. Who knows already what they want to go into? What kind of career? I mean, now, is that find a mentor that actually believes in you. Find a mentor that believes in you, not just uses you for your experience and what you know and the network that you know, but they're encouraging you to build yourself as well. They're taking you along to places so that you can see how they are working. The second thing that I would say is get yourself experience. Even if it's unpaid experience, any experience will actually boost up your CV. Because it's not just about your educational side, but it's also about the experience that you have. And the last thing I would say is try and go to networking events. Even events like these where guest speakers are coming, come to these events and meet new people, network with them, find out what they're doing, why they're doing what they're doing, and build your relationship like that. Because you don't know who can help you one day. And I think that's the reason why I'm always so humble to people when it comes to certain things, that I'm not that quick to cut off someone, because you never know how someone will turn out one day. So just because they're not there yet does not mean that you need to cut them out. Does that make sense? Get experience in every type of field that you feel like you have an interest in. And through that, you would then realize, okay, I like this, I don't like this. And then what I did is I created a little grid of the different skills and the different roles. And that's it for me.
I don't go to this uni, it's my first time coming here, but it's a nice uni, I like it. If I could go back, maybe I'll change my mind and come here. But I'm here to talk to you today about the importance of networking, and there were some important points in the presentation before which I'll touch on again, but let me just start with myself. I'm someone who's much better when it comes to coursework than exams, which is why I chose to go DMU instead, because it's half-half, and that saved my arse a lot of times. Sorry for my language. And just like you, I did a BTEC in business when I was in college. So I'll get on to that next. I currently work for Hastings Direct. Anyone have car insurance? Anyone? Anyone? Who are you with? Admiral, okay, not too bad, yeah. Currently work for Hastings Direct, only worked for them for about 2 months. Prior to that I used to work at Virgin Media. Thought I'd be there till the end of uni, but that's another story. And business in 2 months called Feast, that's our logo there. I will talk about that later on, but I'm just happy to say that I've managed to raise £500 this month from potential customers. In the year I started university, so that was 2015 September, there was 500,000 people that joined university that year. That same year, in the month prior, there was 60,000 graduates that were in non-professional roles, essentially meaning they went to university and got a role that they didn't need to go to university for. So, you know, I don't mean to put this in a bad way, but they essentially wasted 3 years because those 3 years are earning potential and they could be further than where they currently are. In London, the unemployment rate of black men is 18%, while currently the unemployment rate is about 5 to 6% on average. So, as you can see, 4% of the population, but we're 3 times more unemployed than everyone else. Barclays, who I got an offer from for a spring week while I was in my first year of university, employed 320 graduates in 2016, and only 0.02 of them were black men. And I believe the number of black women was about 7 or 8, so it was even lower. I'm not putting this out there to depress all of you, I'm just telling you the cold hard facts and why it carries on to my talk. Now I've got a few more. So the graduate market of the top 200 employers shrank by 8% in 2016. Now that's just a year after I started university. So if everyone in my year who started uni that year had applied the previous year for paid work experience, only 2.6% of them would have got that. And as I was saying earlier about the graduate job market, in the same year that I started university, 18,000 graduates joined the Times Top 100 Employers. That's 3.5% of everyone in my year. So let's say everyone in my year graduates uni, right? Gets a first, honours, everything, right? And they apply for one of these top 100 companies. Only 3.5% will get a job with them. And that doesn't take into account the fact that the graduate market shrunk the year after that. It has shrunk again last year and will shrink again this year because of Brexit. I'm just putting these statistics out there, not here to depress you. I'm here to teach you how to overcome them. So I went and did an insight day at IBM, unpaid, but they paid my travel expenses, so there was no skin off my back. That was in my first year of college. And then in my second year of college, I also went and did another insight day at Sky. Now Sky is actually a very interesting company. Has anyone here worked or been to Sky's headquarters in London? Anyone? Okay, so they're based in Zone 4 in a place called Osterley, far out, never go there again. But what happened, I actually applied for Sky during my first year of university for a week's work experience, and they rejected me, right? So when they rejected me, they sent me that typical email, you know, due to circumstances or people, this, that and the other, and I thought, oh, here we go. But I read that email, and I'm glad I didn't delete that email, because at the bottom of that email it said, have you tried our partner, Go Think Big? Has anyone here heard of Go Think Big? Yeah. Right? Go Think Big are a great initiative by O2 to help underprivileged people get experience in companies. Even if it's just for a day, that can make the big difference. So I applied through Go Think Big. I went to IBM because of that for the Insight Day. I went to Sky for an Insight Day. I shadowed one of the directors at O2. And because of that, just recently, the CEO of O2 invited me last year to come and watch the World ATP tennis finals with him because of that networking day, right? Now, Sky was the final experience I went to at the end of this, and I hated it, so I never want to go back there. So you know they say everything happens for a reason, right? And then the final company I want to put up here is Goldman Sachs. Now, have any of you heard of Goldman Sachs? Goldman, I didn't even want to apply for them because just like you said, they're very hard to get into, right? So during my first year of university, I remember very specifically on the first day of university, I was talking with a few of new students in my year, and I was talking about work experience. I wanted to see who was interested in spring weeks, because I researched them during my summer. No one except one person told me she was interested. So I started speaking to her, and she told me she was the ambassador for an organisation called SEO London. Has anyone heard of them? Yeah. Right. So she connected me with SEO London, went to lots of networking days with them. They taught me a lot of important skills, and they introduced me to people from the big investment banks, including Goldman Sachs. And I remember it because it was a week after my 19th birthday, on January the 19th of 2016, I secured my spring week at Goldman Sachs. And I did that in April 2016. That was 2 weeks paid for my hotel, and at the end of it they also offered me a summer internship for 14 months ahead of time at the end of my second year. Now this isn't all my work experience. Yeah? Who would like to work for Google? So I worked for Google for a week. I was invited to do a spring week there during 2016. So they flew me out to Dublin. That's me there with a big Android in their headquarters. Is it? That is the little I Love Google sign at the top of their building. So for those of you who've ever been to Dublin, Google have the tallest building in Dublin. It's only 11 floors, but biggest thing you can see. I mean, you can see the planes coming in all the way from the sea and far up to the mountains. Has any of you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Yes. Great book, and this is my favourite quote by him. The richest people in the world look for and build network, and while everyone else is looking for work. your net worth. Right? And if you haven't heard that, you know, it's probably the most important quote you can think of. That's it really. I'd love to answer your questions.
It's great to be here today. Thank you for the opportunity and the invitation, Jay. Appreciate it.
Great to have you.
So today, next kind of few minutes or so, I'm going to speak a bit about entrepreneurship and the way the world is changing today and how we can maximize that as young people in this generation. One of the roles that I work in is city leader for a company called Dent Global. Dent is based in London, started in 2010, with offices in about in 4 cities, 4 countries, and 7 cities around the world. And I launched Birmingham as a city, city for Birmingham here. We coach and train entrepreneurs and business owners, run accelerators for 6 and 7 figure business owners here in Birmingham and around the Midlands. And I'll say a bit about Dent, a bit about myself as well. So I've kind of titled this "Utilising Economic Opportunity to Our Advantage." It did say to a Christian's advantage. I'm a minister in my church, and I did this presentation for our national youth conference not too long ago. Just changing back to that. But a quote here by Charles Dickens. It says, "It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was a season of light. It was a season of darkness. It was a spring of hope. It was a winter of despair." If you know the story, you know that this was written at a time when there was war. For some, it was the epoch of incredulity. For others, it was a season of light. And there was 2 polarized mindsets and experiences happening in different parts of the world. And the truth is, for many of us, even in the room today, we probably have these different polarizing mindsets. For some of us, we feel like, you know what, these are the worst times ever. Like, opportunity is so scarce, as there's crime and there's all these stories and videos going around and what's the world coming to. But for some of us, we sense that this is a moment of opportunity and we can maximize, we can take advantage, and we can move ourselves forward. And I've written a few books. My first book's called From the Postcode to the Globe. It's bestseller on Amazon. I bought some to give away today, actually, if anybody would like one. The postcode to small place, empire brain. It's that journey from the postcode to the globe. My second one's called Teenpreneur, How to Build a Business in Your Teens. They say you can't do it as a teenager. I know you can. I had my first company at 19 years old, and we teach kids all around the UK. We're in schools across the UK now, doing mentoring and coaching and training for young people and for staff around entrepreneurship. My last one's called The 5 Core Abilities of Highly Effective Leaders. I interviewed over 120 Christian leaders on my podcast, influential leaders who had either transformed the world in some way, shape or form through their books, their products, their services, their ministries, and I asked them how they did it. People like Dr. Alveda King, Martin Luther King's niece, and many others, and asked them how they did it. And I came up with 5 things they all did really well from those interviews, and I call those the 5 core abilities of highly effective leaders. Also a bestseller on Amazon. Well, let's get back into entrepreneurship. So the point is this: we've got to. I want to inspire you guys. These are the UN Global Goals. So every one of our clients that we work with, we ask them to align their company to one of the UN Global Goals. And we ask them just to think about one. And for example, one of our clients has a coffee shop business, and what they'll say is that they want to provide, they're in clean water and sanitation. And they'll say on the bottom of the receipt for a coffee purchase, will say, thank you, you've given 10p today towards providing clean water and sanitation in whatever country. So they'll donate that through purchases of their product. And we ask everyone to actually align themselves to one of those. Can you take a moment for me and just have a look at those goals, and ask yourself, or the person next to you, which of those goals would you best align yourself with, or your business or your product or your service? Which one would most resonate? We've got to ask ourselves, are our friends, are they multiplying us or are they diminishing us? We've got to place ourselves in a multiplication environment. Surround yourself with multiplication-minded people, not people who diminish us, who don't celebrate us, don't bring out the best in us. So you've got to be really intentional about that. So important. In an environment that is multiplying, you know that because if you were running a marathon, you join a group of marathon runners so you can run with them. And you'd be holding each other accountable, and you'd be pushing each other along and saying, come on, let's get this done, let's do this, because you're all going in the same direction. so important. In an environment that multiplies you, you're going to have access to the best resources. So the resources you need, the technology you need, the people you need, the tools you need. If you're a tennis player, your resources are your equipment, your racket, the playing surfaces. What do you need to get your stuff done? What environment do you need to be in? If you're in a multiplication kind of environment, you're going to have the people around you, you're going to have the resources around you, you're going to have the accountability you need to get things done. Again, whether it's a mastermind, whether it's a coach, a mentor, an accountability group, it's so critical. Inside you've got to have people. See, when we have accountability, something happens. Our natural inclination as human beings is to procrastinate. Say we'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it later. It goes back to ancient days. It was safer for a human being to sit underneath a tree in the sunshine, in the shade, while someone went down and hunted for dinner and brought dinner back and go, oh, fantastic. Easy to do, right? But when there's somebody in our life that we're accountable to, who we have respect for and we've committed to, we raise our game. We do what we wouldn't normally do. In an environment that's going to be helpful to you to get to where you need to get to in life, you've got to have accountability. Everyone say accountability.
Accountability.
You've got to have accountability. It's critical to you achieving your goals and your dreams. You've got to have focus. And what I mean by that is focusing on the right thing at the right time. Yes, we focus to determine, but focus on the right thing at the right time. The mistake we sometimes make is that we're running so far ahead that we're focusing on the stuff there, but actually it's a step-by-step game. And actually, the thing is, what should I be doing right now to get me to there? You see, you got some people who think, you know what, because Gary Vaynerchuk says I should do this, I'm going to go and do it. Or because, you know, my favorite guru said I should go and do this and do that, I should go and do it. But they've done what they've done. They've laid their foundation, they've built their stuff. They can say whatever they want to say because they're already there. If you do what they do, you ain't going to drop the same way. You're going to build your stuff up first from the bottom up as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You got to focus on the right thing at the right time. Then resilience. What normally happens is we get this brain, can I be slightly crude, but a brain fart, all right? You get an idea, a brainwave. Yes, I'm going to do that. And what happens, usually most people is that they get this great idea and they start it, it goes up like that on a graph, if you imagine, and then something happens, a setback, a disappointment, and they drop down, the graph goes down, and they hit what we call the fog, and it gets a bit cloudy, a bit confusing, and what do I do? Do I stay? Do I go? And they jump out. They get another brain fart. I know, I'll start this, and they start again, and they go up, and then they setback or disappointment, and they go down, and what do I do? And the cloud, the fog, uncertainty, how long will this last? And they jump out. And that happens repeatedly for a lot of people, going round and round, and actually, in that fog, in that cloud, you need to press through. As you press through the uncertainty and the fogginess and the ambiguity of things, and you go through it and then you come back up out of it, is what happens. But it takes resilience, it takes that determination, that grit, emotional grit, to keep going when it doesn't feel like it's going to be working out. So those are the three key things that we need to do in order to maximize the times that we're in. Number one, getting the right environment. All right, a resourceful environment with accountability and with the resources and access to best practices. You want to get focused on the right thing at the right time. All right, in your journey, the right thing at the right time. And then resilience, it's that mindset, that grit, that determination to press through and to make it happen. All right, that's my time. All right, so guys, thank you.
I dropped the song and I want everybody to go crazy. You're all Africans, Caribbeans, you're black, come on. I want everybody to drop kids, dance, move, whatever you want to do. I want you guys to feel. Come on, I want to see the Africans. Where are the Africans? Come on. Where is it? Come on, where is it? Come on, show it. The dance. Let me feel it. What's up with the Okay, who am I? I'm Antonio Mankulu. That's my what's called my Instagram details and Snapchat. If you guys want to get in touch with me, the best way to get in touch with me is probably by Instagram. And yeah, today I'll be talking about learning from my pain. Don't worry, I didn't steal it from Kevin Hart, you know. Because I think like I did a lot of things in my life, a lot of mistakes, and I think from my mistakes you learn the most. So I thought I would probably share some of the mistakes I did, and probably then you might be able to pull some lessons out of it. I think there are different type of entrepreneurs, some who learn to become some, and some who are just born to it. And how do you know you're born to it? Basically, when I was 6 years old, my first business was selling Pokemon cards. I realized, like, you know, all these kids in school, they all were getting pocket money, right? I was like the only black kid in school in Germany. Back then, I wasn't living in Cologne. We used to live like, a small village somewhere outside. I was probably the only black kid in school. And all these kids used to get pocket money before I knew what pocket money was. Yeah, so, and then Pokemon cards came along. And I realized, like, you know, these kids were willing to pay more if they knew what Pokemon they were getting than just a random package one. You see what I mean? Than just getting a random one. So that's why I used to go get the Pokemon cards in bulk and get some good Pokemons and sell it to them, innit? So instead of getting my own pocket money, I used to import phones from all kind of from China using Alibaba and then selling it to all the small shops around Birmingham. Was adding to my little bit EMA money I used to get at the time. So, but I didn't used to consider myself an entrepreneur at that particular point because it was thought I was making an extra hustle to live, right? And then till I graduated to becoming like started like cleaning contract business, which I did. I had a couple of contracts around the West Midlands, employing a couple of people, and then I realized one thing that I don't care much about cleaning, and you know it's making money, but it's too labor intensive. I had to employ people. If they did something wrong, I had to meet with them and all this kind of stuff. So I thought, like, what? I sold it, right? So that I can focus on something different. So I decided to go into the tech business, okay, for the first time. And then I started learning my first failures. I call them my proud failures because I'm actually proud to have done them because it taught me a lot. I mean, a lot of other entrepreneurs, a lot of other business people and investors, and you know, they used to see me like doing what I'm doing, young black kid coming, living in Handsworth, trying to make it out here, trying to do what I'm doing. You started earning your respect. You start getting invited to places, you start meeting people, you know, and which then obviously led me to launching new brands and businesses. Cafro at the moment, which like we supply probably the majority of the African shops around West Midlands, with groceries, it's a wholesale business. So basically, we're about also to launch probably the first African Caribbean delivery food, like grocery delivery service around UK, which is becoming soon. So if you shop probably around in any of the African shops, you'll probably buying something we supply. Young Entrepreneur Summit, I set it up because I'm passionate about helping young people getting into business. And I like to help people change their mindset. Specifically, I believe it's not shown to us early enough, like that it's a different route. And that's what I like really what I mean, because giving kids the opportunity to actually know that actually there's a route of entrepreneurship out there. We don't have to get a 9 to 5. We don't have to take this, okay, I'll go to school, learn, get a good grade, start working for what X company. We don't have to do it. There's different routes. If you're creative, if you know what you want to do, if you're passionate about what you want to do and you want to work on it, you can start working on it from right now, from the school age. So basically, so I decided to launch the Young Entrepreneur Summit, where I get like top performing young entrepreneurs. I'm telling you, like top in the UK. It's on running multi-million-pound businesses. Like on the last one I had actually a friend of mine as well. He was, at that time, he just raised £350,000 for his business with like fast charging battery, and now they're about to go into fast charging cars batteries, so the business exploded since then. I had a girl up there who started like in the same year a property site. By the end of the year, she was competing in views to all the top property sites out there. Like literally, we had like a kid who was like under the top 10 young people to watch in the world. So you get like these guys who are 22, 23, and you hear the stories, and you know what I mean, some of them who sold their first £1 million businesses by the time they were like 17, 16, and you realize like, you didn't start early enough. That's when I realized like, I shouldn't have started earlier. I believe that kids who get obviously the doors open it because the families have the possibilities or whatever they've become. The other people who are gonna have to wait or work hard to get a key to open these doors. Personally, I think I would kick the door open. If I want to get something, I will do whatever it takes to get it open. And this is my mindset. So, and that's why like that's the reason now I feel like I would basically, when I think about it, and I think about like sometimes going through difficult times, I always try to think about the speech actually Martin Luther King made. And it's interesting, we know that I have a dream point part, but do we have to consider actually the other part of the speech, because it was much bigger than that, than only I have a dream. Yeah, and when you think of the speech, and he was talking about that 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still badly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. You know, it shows me how much more difficult they had it at the time. So we're not at that time no more. You see, so if they had it that difficult, but as you can see, they refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt, because they refuse to believe in whatever the system was will define who they will be. You know, they decided to make a change for us today. But I was just gonna go in a little bit deeper into mindset, like, because it's the really most important thing in your mindset, and that's why I said personal development is key to train your mind when you're going into business. Yeah. One example as well, again from Darren Hardy from his book, The Compound Effect, was about, he gave the example of like, okay, if I give you the option about picking 1 pence, 1 penny or 1 cent or whatever it is, okay, which doubles itself in value for 31 days only, or £3 million right now, which one would you take? Why?
Compound effect.
Compound effect. Double itself in value, yeah? Good question. But have you actually done the maths one time? This is an investment banker, that's what he has calculated in his mind. This is like calculating the compound effect. But do you know that the 1 pence after 31 days will be worth about over 10 million pounds? Yeah? And the thing about it is actually the maths of that you can do it. The interesting thing about it is that if you realize about it, till probably about month 2017, the 1 pence still only worth about £655. You know, in month 20, we'll be able to join hands and saying the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, talking about the children. But I actually believe that now is the time to extend this dream, because I don't think his dream would have finished there. In my mind, his dream today would have been, and so that the children can grow up, they will get to establish and own small businesses, and big corporations, start up a unicorn and hedge funds, insurance companies and banks, so that the playing field will be even at last. Thank you very much.
What do you wish you knew when you were at our stage, kind of starting off your career? Some of us don't really know what we want to do later on, so what do you wish you knew at our stage?
Probably been a bit smarter. First year of uni was just like a waste of time. I didn't really do anything. Party. I went to Aston, so I was partying and things like that, but I would say I'd be a bit smarter. Obviously Bitcoin as well, I came into it a little bit late, but I did make a bit of money of that. And second thing I would say is I could have kept my company a bit more planned out, so in terms of friends I've got, because I did get into a lot of trouble at uni. So I would say in terms of company and in terms of being smart and being wise, those are the 2 things I would say I could have done better.
Value of my mental health. I think sometimes when you work too hard, you damage your mental health, and I think my major career setbacks were, falling into depression and overworking myself. So that's the first thing, take time to yourself. Secondly would be to just do it. I think sometimes we sit on ideas because we want it to be perfect, and if you don't put an idea out, somebody else will. So, you know, it doesn't need to be in its most perfect form all the time, so just do it, and kind of, you know, you can marginally improve the idea.
I get a lot of questions about public speaking tips, because either you have presentations at uni or something you're interested in because it is an important skill to have. So what tips do you guys give for that?
Remember that it's never going to go how you think it will in your head, as long as if you're passionate about it, as you said, and you have a few key talking points. You know, at the end of the day, the audience don't know what you're going to say. You know what you're going to say. So even if you mess up, it doesn't matter. Just as long as you can say confidently and show that you have interest in it.
I would say when it comes to public speaking, I think it's a skill as well. So like any other skill, you can learn it by actually, what I do, I like to listen to other great speakers, like, and try to really understand the techniques and what they're doing, because there's also like a science behind it, and you can actually try to really learn like all these little bits and pieces you can do when you're public speaking, like in terms of like, you know, how to, you know, when you're nervous and you want to connect to the audience, how can you do it, or, you know, how to engage with the audience, or what you should do in between and stuff like this. So there's a science behind it, so you can learn it, you can actually watch it, and actually watch top speakers, you know what I mean? I like watching Tony Robbins, I like watching Simon Sinek, like, I see when Simon Sinek is speaking, like, he doesn't have to go loud, but he will engage with the way he speaks. It's like, you know, all these names, you watch them and you can learn a lot from it, and then you gotta put yourself out there to do it, because that's the only way to really actually, you know, get better is by actually doing it. So opportunities to get to present or to speak publicly, do it. And one little key like thing I learned in between is like, if you think you're nervous, it's basically the same type of feeling you have to when, like the same kind of thing you feel if you're exciting. So try to translate your being nervous to being excited, you know, and try to put the power into your excitement, and it will start getting better. You will become less nervous when you're about to go on the stage or something. And yeah, and just keep doing it.
Every one of us, I think, should have a goal in mind that I'm going to be an excellent communicator. And then there are clubs out there, things like Toastmasters, or the Professional Speakers Association, are great places you can join, and just being in a room where you can stand up and speak in front of a group of people for 5 minutes or so on a topic of your choice and get feedback. And they'll say to you, well, you're always doing that with your hand, why are you always doing that with your hand? Or they'll say, you know, you repeat yourself a lot, and you don't know that you're doing, but you'll get feedback. So I think, so I'd say to you, if you're really serious about it, find a Toastmasters club, find a Professional Speakers Association club, and they're not expensive. There's some in Birmingham, I know that for sure, and you can learn great. Just the feedback is crucial. And of course, if you speak more, you speak better. So get as many, grab or create even your own opportunity for you to get on stage and speak as much as you can. The more you speak, the better you get.